Hold the camera. Let's talk about that.
How's it going up there on the
Are you guys good? Yeah, we're gonna fucking DoorDash right now.
walk up? It's gonna be no, they kept going.
Yeah.
They were doing that. Okay,
We didn't even phase them.
oh, you know, who ordered the tax? You know.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome back to the Sean Shank Redemption Podcast. I'm Sean Shank, and it is Christmas week, and that is why I'm coming to you again from Casa de Shank, because at the club, typically, if you've watched before, I interview other comics talking about themselves, life on the road and everything, but we do not have comics come out on the holidays, because I'm a firm believer in not making people work on the holidays. So what I did this week is, as I did before on Thanksgiving, and I will do every holiday, I put out some papers, and I just asked my audience members, because I perform at the club a lot, and I asked them just to jot down some questions for me to answer. Could be about life, could be about Christmas, and I've got a whole stack here that I'm going to go through, and I purposely haven't looked at them yet, so we'll see what we get. But before we get started, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Black Label Chronometers. Black Label Chronometers, a firm that is headed up by Ryan Babb, and Ryan makes custom analog clocks out of old albums, and they are amazing. So go to Facebook, you'll see Black Label Chronometers, and he will quote you custom jobs, and if you use the code SHANK15, that's SHANK 15, you will get a discount. Also, I want to give a shout out to another sponsor, and that is MyVive, myvive.com. That's MYVYV.com. If you need a pick-me-up, you're tired at night, say you're cramming for tests, new semester starting up, and caffeine just isn't doing it, these guys have some amazing smelling salts, different varieties and things. You crack them open, and if you watch the videos online, I mean, they light you up. And if you use the code, again, SHANK15, that's SHANK 15, you will get a discount. So check out myvive.com, MYVYV.com. All right, so first I want to address one thing. Is I may sound a little bit rougher than I normally do. It is because I caught the COVID. All right, so I'm definitely in the mending portions of it, but it has made the holidays pretty rough. So I want to give a nod to all the wonderful doctors and nurses and things out there that take care of people, not just in the hospitals but also in the homes, the husbands, the wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, spouses, whatever, partners. It's just like Patch Adams. We're all doctors and caretakers on some level of others, and I'm feeling better. Also, want to give a shout out to Sal D'Amelio and Bob Phillips out of Detroit, two awesome comics. I am wearing the Sal and Bob Show T-shirt. I snatched this up when I was in Northfield, Michigan. I'm just north of Detroit a bit, and did a show with them at Gianetti's. It was an amazing time, and Sal and Bob have one of the highest rated podcasts out there, and just two of the funniest guys, but also two of the genuinely nicest guys working in comedy today. So if you get a chance, check out Sal D'Amelio and Bob Phillips, or definitely check out the Sal and Bob Show. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so looking at this first sheet, and just so I've done this before, and I'm going to do it again but I'm starting to make a practice of it and try to get people in the area used to me doing this, because actually my dissertation is going to be based around comedy club audiences and why they laugh, why they come to comedy shows. And so I'm going to be putting out questionnaires for the next couple foreseeable years for people to be test subjects and things. So what better way to start, or better time to start than now, because I start school in January, getting that terminal degree. All right, so the first one is, what is the weirdest food you've ever had? Weirdest food. You know, okay, so here's the thing. I think weirdest food is like a perspective issue, because what is, you know, you hear the old saying, what is it? One man's trash is another man's treasure. One man's weird food is normal. Like, we hear about balut, which is like dead baby birds still in the eggs, and I Vietnam, maybe Philippines, where that comes from. And it, you know, to us that sounds insane, right? But to them, that's a delicacy over there. So again, it's all perspective. Now, I grew up, and I've said this many times before, I grew up in the country, and we have a lot of like Midwestern foods that, you know, outside of the Midwest, not a lot of people have. You know, just like a couple months ago, I say a couple, it was like last September, we had Sam Dunthorne here. It goes by Sam Rhodes. It's a comic out of England. Guy's brilliant, hilarious, great dude. Never had biscuits and gravy before. Now, to me, that sounds insane, because I grew up in the Midwest, and biscuits and gravy was like a weekly thing, and multiple times a week, especially, you know, like during the winters, because you were working outside a lot, chopping wood and shit, and, you know, but he'd never had it. Dude loved it, but he was like, man, this is a weird food, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I guess if you never had it before. So again, it's all about perspective. Excuse me. But I would say the weirdest food that I've had, next to conch, which is fucking delicious, would be liver and onions. Some people love it. I don't understand it. Organ meat is horrifying as far as taste. And then to just slap it in the middle of onion. I don't even know. It's like, how the fuck do people even come up with these dishes? It's like they've killed a thing, you know, and they're like, let's cook this. Hey, let's put this with, I mean, not even something like green beans, liver and green beans. You know, not everybody loves onion. Onion is kind of, it's sharp. I'm not going to say pungent, but to some it is. But it's like, let's combine these two horrifying things. And I like onions, but with liver, fucking disgusting. And my dad used to just love that shit. And then when I see it in, you know, like a small diner, we've got a small diner close to the house here. You know, they have liver and onions on special, whatever day of the week it is. And you hear people say, oh, it's liver and onions day. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you could get excited about that, but I don't walk outside and go, ooh, it's dog shit day, and, you know, oh my God. It's just wretched smelling, wretched tasting. It is the worst of all things. And I will say this, if you like liver and onions, you're wrong. Okay? I mean, I could like liver and onions too, but then I would be wrong as well. And I'm often not wrong, so I'm not going to go down that goddamn fucking, ugh, what the hell's wrong with you people? All right, next question. What is your favorite Christmas memory? Favorite Christmas memory. I mean, I've got a bunch. You know, that's the weird thing. I've got a bunch because I mean, mad props to my parents. They always made sure Christmas was awesome. And, you know, I talked with my sister about this. Like, when they died, you know, my dad died in 2020, my mom in 2021, just a year and some change after he passed. It's like the magic just got vacuumed out of Christmas and the holidays and things. And I know we're supposed to find our own happiness and stuff like that, but it really, it's been tough ever since they've gone. But like we were kids, man, like we had this library, we had a split level home that mom and dad built over the years, and my mom was a massive reader and my dad was a musician, and this library was like a combination music room library because there were massive bookshelves, books everywhere. I have some of my mom's collection out in my library, and there was a vaulted ceiling like halfway down the library, so it was like, I mean, it's still very high ceiling of 15 feet, and then at the end it went up to like, I think 22 feet. And so every year we would go out and get these massive Christmas trees. I'm talking 17, 20 footers, okay? And would come home and just boxes and boxes and boxes of, and not totes, because this was back before totes were like a thing. You know, so we had those boxes with like the crisscross dividers and the, you know, the bulbs, like the all ancient, beautiful Christmas bulbs in them. And we would spend hours, and like there was so much tree, it would be like, this was my side and the other side was my sister's side, and then, you know, mom and dad decorated the middle and top, and kind of all over the place. And so I think my favorite Christmas memory is just the Christmases that, you know, mom and dad put everything into, and it was my dad's favorite time of the year, hands down. And he would just love decorating, like the whole thing about it, and getting Christmas presents for Michelle and I. And you know, it was great. And we always have Swiss Colony, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, if Swiss Colony wants to, you know, do a solid to me for mentioning them and send some Swiss Colony to my house, I won't hate it. But they always had Swiss Colony too. Like we had that 3-tiered dish with all the little petit fours, and mom would always get a torte cake that had like, it's like Damascus steel unforged in fire, where it's just been layered 5,000 times. Like you cut in this torte and there's like 500 layers. It was just fucking, oh, I loved it. And looking back and all the way till now, and not that Christmases are terrible now, they're not bad. I mean, the last couple of years haven't been great, but like it was just magic. And it, not even, you know, the wistful remembrance of like a kid where it's like, oh, it's wonderful because I didn't have bills and all this other shit. Like even as a teenager, like in my late teens and early 20s and into my 30s, every time you'd be around mom and dad for Christmas, there was a bit of magic. There was just a certain kind of magic in our household for it. Yeah, I mean, the magic was wreathed in cigarette smoke, but still, it was beautiful. And I will be always grateful that I had that time, because not everybody does. Not everybody gets to look back on their childhoods and Christmases as like these were awesome times. Because even my family, like outside of mom and dad, tended to get together and get along for the most part at Christmas time, because normally we didn't. Anytime we had family reunions, Thanksgiving, it would always deteriorate into people shouting at each other, and then the Bible would be opened on the main table luckily after dinner was finished, and fingers would be, inside of it, and they're pointing at this verse and that verse, and it's like, God, we're supposed to love each other. How the hell is the rest of the world going to get along? So yeah, it was interesting times. Anyway, but yeah, I think that's my favorite Christmas memory, and the Logan Sport Mall, because you talk about an absolute, like, they went all out. But this was back, in the 80s when people still gave a shit about things, and Christmas wasn't a four-letter word. Because you just don't see the decorating now. You don't see the spirit and the soul in it anymore. But man, you'd walk into the Logan Sport Mall, and it would just be like wall-to-wall lights and all these hanging things, and then in the center there was like Santa's Wonderland, and it was just piled with presents, and you had the photographer, and they still had like the roll film that they would have to get processed and everything. I mean, it was just and every store was decked out, and you had little dishes of candy canes and things, and it was just a good time to be alive, So yeah. Thanks for that question, whoever wrote this. Oh, that's original. This says gay. It just gay with an exclamation point. Fucking classy. Okay, very nicely done, folks. All right. God damn. Oh wow. Okay, so I did this recently. And this is probably why there's some Christmas theme, which is great because it's Christmas week. But this says, why dust, DOES apostrophe T, why does Christmas not feel like Christmas? Okay. This is a theme I've been hearing quite a bit. I know why it doesn't for me, and for my sister and family and whatnot. Like, I get that portion of it because since 2020, my dad, my mom, my Uncle Mike, my best friend Mike, my best friend Troy, we had a lot of death, just a lot of deaths, all kind of compacted into one time period. It's been a lot. But I've also noticed it, like, with everybody. The area that I live in this area called Michiana. It's Michigan-Indiana border. And there's a place up here called the UP Mall. And, like, they have some decorations out that are inoffensive. There's nothing religiously aligned to it. And they have, like, a couple presents, a couple large balls that are surrounded in lights, and they used to have a deer. I didn't see that this year because maybe, I don't know, reindeer go back to the Germanic roots of the Christmas, Santa and all that stuff, so maybe it's too closely attached. I don't fucking know, right? But what I do notice is that, like, it's become horribly commercialized. The fact, like, Disney snatching up, I think, the Charlie Brown Christmas Story, and now they don't have it on TV anymore. Like, fucking shame on you guys. Like, come on. Of all the lousy ways to make a buck, that is something that brought joy to millions for years. And when you did it, everybody complained about it, and you knew it was wrong, but you didn't care, and you still are holding back on it. And it's just shameful. It's like, that's one of the traditions, like the Rankin Bass, Santa Claus is coming to town, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is a terrible fucking song, okay? First of all, you want to talk about, the girl trying to get away for Christmas, and that being a rapey song. What about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? All right, this poor guy, all right, was ridiculed, all right, until he had something of use, and then everybody was his friend. you know what, to that vein, you know, fuck Santa and the rest of the reindeer, those assholes. All right. Anyway, but I think there is a bit of disdain for the holiday, because now it's just become about, I got you gifts, and instead of people getting excited about presents and people like trying to think about what they get for people, it's just money or gift cards now, to just like, here's the obligation, we took care of it. I didn't really think, I mean, dude, as a guy who's gotten older over the years, I'm not old, but god dang, I'm older. The presents that most people, if I get them at all, there's been times I don't get them at all. And anymore, I whatever. Okay, it is what it is. But it's just like, if you're not even going to put thought into it, don't get me anything. I don't want it, right? But it's just become so not what it was, and unfeeling. And you know, it's not hard to see it too, because like, here's the thing: if you drive down the fucking road, any road, anywhere, at this time of year now, and you do not see, I would say easily, like even a tenth of what we used to have when I was a kid, like when it came to like Christmas shit and stuff. It's just not out there. And I heard about a house just recently. It was like, man, you got to drive by this house. There's so many decorations. Drive by the house, and there might have been 10 things decorated. And I'm like, this is what you call extreme? But looking around nowadays, it kind of is. Like, they really put in some effort, because they did stuff. You know, average anymore, if a house is even decorated, it has one tree out front, or one window has the, you know, around the perimeter, and or even just like the one lit up candle in the window. And I know there's like religious symbolism with that one, but still, it is just, man, it's dying, you know. And some people say there's no war on Christmas, it's in our heads, and yada yada. It's like, okay, but look around. You know, I'm not even talking conspiracy, just look at the results, you know. And the fucked up thing is, it has become so about the money with this stuff that people go into stores the day after to do returns or use their gift cards and shit. They're already putting Easter stuff out, folks. They are already putting Easter stuff out. You know how we stop this? By not buying into it. A dear friend of mine said that instead of exchanging gifts this year, her family got together and exchanged memories and had a big just baller feast. And I'm like, what a great thing. What a great thing. I mean, how cool would that be? What's your gift to me? Here's a lovely memory I have of you, and this is one of the reasons I think you're a great person. Thanks, I will take that over socks any fucking day. Okay? I can buy my own socks. You know, well, with current inflation, I can buy one pair of socks, maybe a sock, perhaps half a sock. Anyway, so, yeah. I think that's a lot to do with what's going on. All right. Okay. This is from either Liddy or Lily. I can't. This is some typed cursive. Somebody actually writing with cursive. This is somebody who heard my stand-up set before. Did you really do stuff with Def Jam? Yes, I did. I did stuff with Def Jam. If you've seen my set, you know that I did a contest at this club called Hey Chaz, and I beat out some comics. Okay, so in stand-up we have what they call urban rooms, which means all black rooms. You know, just like if you went to the four cornfields in the middle of Benton, Illinois, which I performed there, great room, and that is all white folks, and it's just a demographics thing, you know, in regions of where people live, and I did the Hey Chaz was an all black room, and I don't remember what I said. I have one joke from it that saved my ass because I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't been, you know, I grew up in the middle of four cornfields in Deer Creek, Indiana. I didn't know shit about shit, and Jacoby Ray, who's a dear friend of mine, he's a big influencer now on the TikToks and shit. And he's got a company called Meat So Horny, msh.com. Check them out. They've got awesome spices, guys. Anyway, so he signs me up for this contest, and I go there and I do well. Again, I blacked out on stage. I did 15 minutes, not a fucking clue what I said except for one thing. And they were like, "Hey, would you like to do some Def Jam shows?" You know, and this guy named Tony Metro was putting them together, and I was like, "Okay," you know, because I didn't have cable. I didn't grow up with that shit. I'd only ever seen 3 black people in real life, and they were adopted by the science teacher at our high school. So, you know, I said yes, and my first Def Jam show was on 8 Mile in Detroit, and it was at the Rosedale House. And I remember I did okay at that show. Excuse me. I didn't do great, but I will say, I mean, I did well enough. Like, they were appreciative. I got a nice applause at the end. They gave me a plate of soul food, which fucking amazing. But it was just, I was so out of my element. I mean, you talk about fish out of water, but everybody was so lovely, you know. It was so nice, and even though it's like, obviously, kid, this is not your normal demographic, couldn't have been more welcoming. And God, I love black audiences. They just, I would take a black audience of 100 over an all-white audience of 10,000. I know that sounds horribly racist on its face, but it's not. It's just, talk to any comic and they'll tell you that, like, there's a massive difference between the levels of appreciation that come from, you know, what's called an urban crowd and, you know, an all-white crowd. But it was a great experience in my life, and it's something I did. I use it in my credits, and I tell the story on stage, but is it something I hang my hat on? No, because I didn't get on national TV with it. I mean, it was just a string of shows that was attached with that name, which is fine. You know, it was a great experience. You know, it was a very happy time in my life, and something, yeah, I actually did, but is it, you know, something like... you know, like a continuous string of stuff that I did, like with Wildin' Out and all that stuff. No, not at all. And at the time, I wasn't funny enough to be on national TV. Even though I got a few shots at that at the time. I got shots before I was ready. I did okay with them, but I'm way more equipped now. But yes, so to answer that question, yes, I actually did do that stuff. So... alright, so what, oh, this must be somebody that knows me. What is a conspiracy that you 1000% believe in? Okay, first of all, you can only have 100%, alright? I know this is a thing that this is popped up on TikToks, and there's a guy, what's a conspiracy theory that you 1000%, like 100, alright? It's 100%. Just stop. God, fuck. Quit absorbing things that other people do and be like, oh my God, that's so cool. I am going to regurgitate it because I want to seem like I'm in the club. That's what fashion is. Why people wear the same clothes. It is a tribalistic type thing. Just stop. Just be yourself. All right. Now, if you say 1,000%, fine. You're just a math dummy, all right? But it's 100. It's 100%, all right? Okay. Probably shouldn't chastise the people that are actually doing the thing with the answering the question or like giving me questions to ask, but god damn it. Anyway, okay, so what is it like? Which one do you want me to start with? Like, I could have an entire podcast of just conspiracy theories, and it's to the point. I don't even call them theories anymore. It's just mentionings of things that are going to happen, and we're just waiting around for it to come true. Okay. I'll tell you one that I 100% believe in, that I know for a fact was a false flag operation, and that is the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Okay. And this is actually kind of heartbreaking, because this is, you grow up, and it doesn't matter. I mean, some countries are different in how they present their government. Some, are just a goddamn nightmare from the beginning. Venezuela is a fucking dumpster fire. Excuse me. In other places, that they're corrupt as fuck, but you can't say anything for fear of death, and we're getting to the point, where they're trying to force social credit scores and things. If you don't believe me, look at T-Mobile's new contract. It's fucking nuts. And I will recommend to anybody that if the new thing with the contract plays out and they try to fine you for using any sort of speech on their platform, lawsuit, First Amendment. All right. Okay. So the Gulf of Tonkin incident. This, like I was saying, you grow up in this country believing that your government has your best interests at heart. You grow up believing that everything is good and pure and wholesome, and the propaganda posters where Uncle Sam is standing there with a wave, the flag waving and everything, and then you start to find out that the answer to the question of would my government really do that, and the answer is yes, they would. It breaks your heart, because they're there for the people and of the people and for the betterment of us, not to control us. Shouldn't be to control us. It's supposed to be for the betterment of our society. And I don't care if it's socialist, capitalist. I'm very libertarian. I'm just down the middle. I want what's best for everybody and to be left alone. But when you find out about the Gulf of Tonkin incident, where basically they used a false flag attack on one of our ships, and the Secretary of Defense admitted openly, like, yeah, we lied about it. Didn't happen. And they lied about it to get us into a war, and that war cost thousands of people's lives. There was no turning back for me at that point. And then once that became a thing that is real, and then you start hearing all these other conspiracies, like, oh, that's crazy, and then you find out, no, that's not at all what happened. It's just like the stuff with the videotape and starting the attack on that embassy, and Hillary went around like, that videotape, and then found out, no, it's actually 100% a lie. And then the sub, that makeshift sub that went down with the billionaires, right? And they had known for a week that the thing was obliterated, and they were still pushing on the national news the narrative for a week after that, like, here's the countdown for the amount of time that they got left, and it was all bullshit, factually proven bullshit. And then you hear other things like, the Titanic wasn't actually the Titanic, it was the Olympia, and there was some damage, and then you start going down the different rabbit holes and stump stuff proves to be insanity, and then other stuff is it's just like UFOs. I think most people, my opinion always was, and I've seen some weird shit over my lifetime, but people's opinions, I think, generally are that they probably exist, because I think it takes a great amount of hubris, like an absolute goddamn fucking dump truck load of hubris, to sit here on this little marble in the midst of space, billions and billions and billions of stars and planets and everything, and try to sit there and profess to me or anybody else that, oh, we're it. And even if there are other people out there, they couldn't possibly have the technological advancement to reach us, and why would they want to? I don't know. Why do we go to zoos? To see the animals. Maybe that's why they fly by. They want to take a look at the savagery that's down here. Who knows? But to try to sit there and say just the numerical improbability that we are alone among all this, you're stupid. All right, I'm going to say out straight up, you are dumb if you think we're alone. And then the government out and out goes, oh yeah, they exist. It's like, we fucking know, dude. This, they expected some big, just like, oh my god, the government admits they're real. And it's like, we know. We've known. So, yeah. So the Gulf of Tonkin, UFOs, I think, frankly, the evidence, the first moon landing is highly fucking suspect, and I could go down the rabbit hole of why I think it's highly fucking suspect. The blast radius, excuse me, close-up shots of the lander. The damn thing looks like it was slapped together. The Van Allen belt and the radiation and going outside, and the tinfoil that was supposedly supposed to protect from that, just rancid, death in deadly amount of radiation that's out there in space. And like all of the things about it that just seemingly don't add up. Like, one, when the lander was taking off, who was panning up with the camera? And frankly, why would they? Even if it was a radio transmitted thing from the lander to the camera, why would that be a necessity for, you know what I mean? Like, little things like that just are weird with it. The fact that we were trying to rush to beat the Soviets to, some space race dick measuring contest with the USSR at the time. Just a lot of stuff seems very suspect and weird. So yeah, that's, I maybe it's a cop out, because those have been I'll tell you. Okay, so how's about this? Fucking Mandella Effect. All right. Now the conspiracy. There's a multitude of conspiracies surrounding all of the Mandela effects that are out there. There's so many of them. But the main conspiracy that I've heard behind this, and it's a weird one, but they are trying to erase pieces of history, like in Orwell's 1984. But instead of out and out doing it, they're like trying to basically test the waters with little bits and pieces of things. But there are too many people out there that are just like, no, motherfucker, this is not how this was. I'll be home for Christmas. is a huge one that not just freaked people out, it pissed them off, because now they're like, all right, assholes, we weren't paying attention before, but now we're paying attention. Okay? And I mean, fuck me. I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Count. Not plan. Count. I cannot tell you. I've been around. Okay? And as soon as this got out, where people were like, this is some bullshit, I contacted so many people and said, how does this go? And to the person, even the most skeptical of people that I know were like, no, motherfucker, it was count. It has always been count. In this bullshit about plan. And another one that is very insidious, that the most rigid of collectors of Pokemon. All right. Now, my history with Pokemon goes back to when it first popped into this country, because I was on the road pretty much full time, and I had one of the old school Game Boys. And during the day, if you're not writing, if you're not doing media, you know, and you're in town Tuesday through Sunday, so you do have to kill time. And so I had this Game Boy that I would play all the time, because it, you know, it was just something to do. And when Red and Blue first came over, and those were the original cartridges, I got both. You know, because I was like, oh, this looks interesting. So I got the two cartridges. And I had just been aware of it ever since, you know, because I was one of the OG people playing it. And there's this character called Onyx. And for years, and it's such a small thing, but it was ONYX, Onyx, okay? And then somebody pops up on the social media and they're like, these motherfuckers are trying to change this now. And it wasn't just a couple hundred people that when they tried to switch the spelling to ONIX, I'm talking millions of people cropped up, and they're like, fuck you. This was Onyx. It was always Onyx, ONYX, and this bullshit of you trying to push that it's ONIX. We don't know what the fuck is going on. We don't know if this is some parallel dimension shit. We don't know if this is whatever it is, but fuck you. We know better. I'm not even going to get into the whole Sinbad, Shazam, Genie thing, which I know too many people that are like, not only was it a thing, I watched that fucking movie. But no, the Onyx thing, and there was a massive wave backlash against that one. And so there's too many of these things popping up that people are noticing, and they talk about, you know, massive gnosis and this thing and that thing. And it's one thing if a bunch of people are sitting in a room and they're all like, I remember this, I remember, yes, I remember this, I remember this, you remember this, yes, yeah, you know, and they're all like, get worked up that way. I only had to see one dude say it, and I switched off and started doing my research and going back through old decks and everything else, because I still have some of that shit. And then I go back into look on social media, and it's millions of people that are like, nah, bro, fuck you, ONYX. So I think the Mandela Effect stuff, it seems like there's something very insidious there. And, you know, can a million people be wrong? Sure. Happens all the time. There's entire countries that have been wrong about shit. You know, Germany, World War II, perfect example. China in, you know, social rights and things for people. Not so good. Very wrong on a lot of levels that way. But when it comes to stuff like this where people are just frothing at the mouth like, no, I know this in my soul, you know, it's one of those things that should even if you're the most skeptical person ever, it should make you take pause and go, why are people so adamant about this shit? Like, what, it seems a little bit much that this many people are like, no, fuck you, what the fuck is going on? So, I guess that's one, for sure, that I would say I'm definitely very interested in. Alright, so, it's been at this for almost an hour, and I've got one more that I will address. Alright, it said favorite childhood memory. I've got a lot, I mean, there's so much stuff that was good for my childhood. The McDonald brothers, me and my sister seeing what we thought was a ghost in her room. That was a creepy story for another time. Wrestling all those years, even though the working out portion was not the most fun. There's still a lot of great memories and a lot of great people, and of course there were horrible times. I was relentlessly bullied and stuff like that, but there were good times too. And but a favorite, this is one, and I actually talked about it today on Jukebox Ginger, JG's Lounge. And it's one of my favorites because every time I think about it, it makes me laugh. And, okay, so I was over with my mom and dad at my Uncle Mike's house. Now, in my Uncle Mike's house at the time, his two daughters were already out of the house, so that just left my cousin Paul, who was almost my age, all right? So we were really close. We're not like best friends, but every time we hung out, it was always fun. And we were both country kids, He lived on the other side of the county, so he went to Delphi, and I went to the other school. So my Uncle Mike and Aunt Joyce are downstairs in the kitchen with my mom and dad, and they are having a card night. Which is, people did before all this bullshit with social media and phones, where people are just sitting on their couches and scrolling and wasting their fucking lives, right? So they're having a card night and they're playing euchre. Now, euchre's a very Midwest game. If you don't know it, it's a blast. There's a ton of trash talk. It's good stuff. But they're downstairs playing euchre. So I'm upstairs in Paul's room, and this was before we really had gaming consoles and that kind of bullshit. So, excuse me. More of that COVID coming out. Anyway. So we're upstairs, and he's got a ton of toys in his room, but it's like country, like tractors and stuff, because I mean, we're country kids, we both grew up in the middle of the cornfields, and we're trying to find stuff to do, and Paul had this dartboard, and this was before everything had to be safe and plastic darts and shit. They had the actual metal spiky, like stick in wood type darts. And I don't know why we thought this would be, it was good. It's just fun. I mean, two idiots trying to find something fucking fun to do. So we came up with this game where we would throw the darts at each other, but, okay, there's a big but here, he had a He-Man playset, which means he had this round gray plastic shield that came with a sword. And so what we were doing is we would throw the darts at each other, 3 darts, and you would knock the dart away, all right? And that's how you scored. I don't know. You didn't get hit in the face with a fucking dart. That was the win. And so, but here's the thing. That house that they lived in at the time was built in like 1890, so it didn't have traditional heating system. So they had the big vents in the floor so the heat would come up, where it was heating downstairs. And I remember saying to Paul, I said, dude, I think because the kitchen where they were playing cards was right fucking below Paul's room. And I said to him, I said, Paul, we should probably put something over the vent because the darts could fall through. And Paul said, no, my dad gets mad if I cover it up. Okay. So he throws I throw 3 darts at him. He dink, 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 knocks them all away. Fucking very deftly just maneuvers the shield. He's great with it. I'm trying to remember because he threw the dart, so... Oh no, I threw the dart. Yeah, so... I knocked the darts away. Bink, bink, bink. Fucking knocked them all over the room. I did a great job. Now it's my turn to throw the darts at him. Yeah. So I throw the first one. He knocks it away. I throw the second one. Boom. He fucking hits it and lifts it. Flies behind him. Alright? It's going great. I throw the third dart. And for whatever reason, he does that. He tilts it down. He tilts the fucking top of the shield down like this to knock it to the floor. But what he did was he knocked it through the fucking grate. Alright? So the dart goes down through the grate. And we hear this thunk. And then a pause. And you hear, God damn it, son of a bitch. They came right the fuck upstairs. And back then, you spanked your kids. So my dad snatched me up, beat my ass all the way down the stairs, and put me on the couch downstairs. Uncle Mike was upstairs yelling at Paul, yelled at him all the way down the stairs. And we're both crying. It's a mess. And of course, card night is over, so we go home. And I figure I'm dead. When I get home, they're going to beat my ass again. They didn't, thankfully. And they actually, I remember Mom and Dad actually listened to me because even as stupid as the idea was, like it was a stupid idea, I fully admit we were stupid. But I told him, no, I tried to fucking tell him to put something over the grate, and he did not listen. And so that saved my ass. From I think later beatings. But why this makes me laugh every time is that when that dart fell through the grate, it landed in my Uncle Mike's forearm and into the bone. Okay, and it stuck straight up. And I just imagine you're down there, you're with family, you're having some drinks, smokes, you're laughing, you're having a great time, because you always have fun playing euchre, and just having a blast, and all of a sudden a fucking dart just lands in your goddamn forearm and buries itself into the bone. And I just can't see it. That fucking pause. That moment of realization where it takes your brain and your body and the nerves that have been severed and everything that's going on to catch up together and to understand there's a fucking dart in my arm and there should not be a dart in my arm. All of that crashing in at once. Oh my God, my poor uncle. Just fucking sitting there. He just catches a goddamn dart. Oh my God. It just, at the time, not funny. Not funny in the least. But I can tell you, as an adult, I look back on that and I just laugh my ass off. So that is one of my favorite childhood memories just because of the laughter that it brings now. So yeah, all right. Well, I appreciate all the questions that people gave. They were good questions because they, instead of yes or no, answers, and I like questions like that make me think and like leads to talking about stuff. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you're listening or you're watching this on YouTube or whatever. Um, these opportunities to not have the comics at the club and just to be able to give the time off, so I can sit here and talk to you guys for an hour or whatever it's been. It's fun and I enjoy it. So thanks for tuning in. I certainly appreciate it. Again, this has been the Shawshank Redemption podcast. Normally, week to week, we're going to be interviewing comics from the Underground Laugh Lounge in Niles, Michigan. Next week, I will be talking to the amazing Steve Ayatt, generally super nice guy. And I know I say this a lot, but I only tend to work with nice people. That's a thing. Like I don't book or work with guys that are jerks. And if I find out you're a jerk, I'll work with you one time. And unless the money is like stupid good, I won't ever work with a person again if they're difficult, because there's too many other people that are nice that you can work with. So Steve Ayatt's next week, and just brilliantly funny for one, but super nice guy. So I am interested to sit down with him and just pick his brain about comedy, life, etc., etc. All right, let's go again. I want to give a shout out to JG's Lounge. Check out Jukebox Ginger and his Stardom and all the different podcasts that he's laying down and on this network, Evolution. He's got a great podcast, very interesting interviewer. Does a great job. And shout out to one of my sponsors, Black Label Chronometers. Again, Ryan Babb, he makes kick-ass clocks, and he can customize anything. I mean, his brain is just, you give him something and he'll make whatever idea you have better. So check out Black Label Chronometers. And also myvive.com, myvyv.com, myvive.com. If you need a pick-me-up, and I'm talking something that is going to hit harder than the caffeine, check out myvive, myvyv.com. The 2 o'clock tires are a reality, and they hit most people. And if you need something that's going to get you up and going, and with a different assortment of flavors and things, it'll perk you up. So check out myvive.com, myvyv.com. And with Black Label Chronometers and myvive.com, just use the promo code SHANK15, that's SHANK15, and they will get you hooked up with a discount. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me for this Christmas week downtime for the comics, and we'll be back with you next week. We've got some special editions coming up from a trip that I took a bit ago, and are just now going to be getting to having the editions come out. And that's about it. So for the Shawshank Redemption podcast, thank you so much. And as always, remember,
guess what it comes down to is get busy laughing or get busy dying.